Have you heard the word on the streets? Enmeshment. It's fascinating because that saying in and of itself, right? Have you heard the word on the streets? That's kind of like an involvement in business that is not your own, which is enmeshment. Diffused boundaries, poor boundaries, a lack of healthy boundaries. Let's talk about enmeshment again. My favorite thing in the... No, I'm kidding. Oh, man. Quitting enmeshment is a wild journey. It's a wild experience. It's a sort of like saying goodbye to yourself, but more so, I don't want to say a false self, but a self that you created to survive in a family system that is exceedingly unhealthy. You know, now that I think about it, in systems of enmeshment, of course, an ego state is being created, but it's corrupted by lack of healthy boundaries, over involvement in other people's lives and business and stuff, and yeah, I mean, it all just sucks. Enmeshment sucks. I've said it many times before, and I'll say it again. Enmeshment sucks. It really does. Let's talk about what it's like to quit enmeshment, to exit a system of enmeshment, all the while everyone else is like, hey, where are you going? What are you doing? You can't just leave us. No, 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 no. This is all you know. This is all you'll ever know. You can't, whatever you're doing, get back here. Right? And then you walk away, and then after a while you realize that you're kind of floating. Right? You're almost like drifting, right? And life feels fucking weird because you actually had your feet on the ground to an extent in that system of enmeshment, and now you just don't know what to do with yourself. If you're not so overly invested in other people's lives, if you're not so consumed by drama and gossip and all this chaos and everything that you're so familiar with, right? Now you're asking yourself, what do I do? Do I stare at my hand? Do I stare at the back of my hand? Do I stare at a wall? Do I look at the sky? You can do all those. The reality of this is quite, I don't know. Enmeshment sucks. I knew that I'd say it again, and I'll say it many more times. It really does. The craziest thing on my journey of healing and healing away from enmeshment is to learn that the pain that I have felt throughout my life in relationships, which I previously thought was a result of love, was not a result of love. It was, in fact, from enmeshment. Fuck enmeshment. All over the place. Yeah, coming out of enmeshment, exiting, quitting enmeshment is such a wild experience because for myself personally, it's kind of like I almost don't really know what to do with myself if I'm not part of a group or a system where everyone is just so overly invested in each other's shit. I don't want that. I don't. So the fascinating thing about this, too, where I'm at right now, is that, like, as I heal and everything, I'm realizing all of the things that I've done that I just did because I thought I had to. I thought I was supposed to. I didn't want to, right? And I'm not going to get into any details or logistics as to what I've been through. But I have done a ton of things throughout my life that I never wanted to simply because I thought I had to or I thought I was supposed to. I felt a level of severe fucking obligation. And now I'm in just a fascinating era of my life where I'm reflecting on all of the things that I've done, realizing that I haven't wanted to do way more than half of the things that I've done through obligation, through codependency, people pleasing. All my fault, by the way. I am not pointing the finger at anybody else. Consider this a video of not only self-awareness and awareness of an unhealthy system, family system, psychosomatic, right? But this is also awareness of just like personal responsibility and accountability. I am not pointing the finger at anybody else. This is all on me. Enmeshment, which, from what I understand, leads to codependency, leads to also an individual doing a ton of things that he or she does not want to do. And I've had plenty of experience with that. And so the fascinating thing is that, like, whenever I find myself in a situation where I'm actually not doing what I want to do, or I'm doing what I don't want to do, I'll catch myself and I'll be like, is this what Chris actually wants to do? And the amount of times that it's just been, no, Chris doesn't want to do this. Chris doesn't want to do that. Enmeshment kind of creates a dynamic of obligatory choices, right? So now it's like, well, what is Chris choosing and why is Chris choosing it? That's really the kind of like fundamental, foundational approach to life. And I'm still kind of floating, and I'm trying not to label it as like not fun floating, but at this point, I filled myself up with so much responsibility for other people's lives throughout my life that, like, whenever people aren't coming to me with things that they need me to do for them, it's a little bit of strange, different territory, because I now have the opportunity to bring myself back to myself and do for myself rather than just running around for everybody else. Again, always has been my responsibility to make these choices for myself. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody else, but on some real shit, fuck obligation. It's not healthy. Fuck enmeshment. It's not healthy. Fuck diffused boundaries. It's not healthy. Healthy boundaries are healthy boundaries. When a person is allowed to be themselves and they're not forced, controlled, or manipulated to be some other fucking way than who they fucking are as a person, that's healthy, right? And it's just wild to be in this space of awareness, realizing that, like, of course, quitting enmeshment is possible. It really it comes down to awareness. It comes down to self-awareness. It really does. I think the craziest and scariest thing that a person can go through is, I don't know if I can call it gaslighting, but for the sake of this, I'm going to call it, I won't use that word. Basically, when a person is led to believe that they're this, but they've always been this instead, right? And this creates a ton of fucking limitation on them as an individual. And they're blinded from this over here, right? It really fucks their life up, as I'm sure anybody can imagine, They're led to believe that they're this instead of this, right? They're led to believe that they're, I don't know. I'm going to use these words just for the sake of it, and I don't mean anything at all by it, I swear. This is no reference to masculinity or femininity, being a man, lacking being a man. I honestly really don't buy that shit. This is more so about waking up in a detention that you were to realize you were never supposed to be a part of. You were never actually in trouble, right? The last thing I'll say here is that any person, any individual, depending on whatever system they're raised in, holy shit, there's something on my pants. That's crazy. Every single fucking thing that they learn from a very early age is going to be imprinted on their psyche. It's going to end up being hardwired, and they're going to continue to live out the same fucking patterns until something fucking changes, until they gain some level of, clarity through self-awareness, hopefully. I'm completely mind blown at how unlikely it is that a person will actually change. It's kind of scary to me, actually. I'm grateful as fuck that I am where I am. I'm grateful as fuck that I've put in the fucking work to get where I am, right? But just like, I don't know, the potentiality, but also the lack thereof. Like, shit. The reality is that oftentimes some people don't fucking change. And to each his own. You can do whatever the fuck you want to. You cannot do whatever the fuck you want to. I'm not here to judge anybody at all. This is a safe zone. There's no shame here. There's no guilt. There's no obligation. There's absolutely fucking nothing at all whatsoever. But, and I'll say it one last time, the likelihood, it's possible, of course, but the likelihood that a person will actually change requires some serious stuff, right? And also the likelihood that an entire fucking system, in this case, family system, will change, yeah, not likely.